Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. You'll have to let me know how the camera is now. Since my friend Mike, in the last session of Talk, Swims and Strokes, I basically ended up having him super glue the corner together. So I'm hoping that now this thing is going to actually work a bit more smoothly. But that's not why you called, of course. Though I will mention this much, and that is the 2 sessions of Talk, Swims and Strokes for Wednesday and Sunday. Nearly having my first stroke already, nearly 30 seconds in. God, they will be uploaded together. This will probably be uploaded after, because I want to make sure that the more relevant videos get the better views. But without further ado, let's get into the meat of the video. And this video is once again going to involve Keir the traitor Starmer, who seems to be starring in quite a few of my flicks. Because this man seems to think that he has the right to hold the UK hostage as far as what's going on in Iran is concerned. Speaking of Iran, there was one person who I've got pinned, basically trying to say I'm a heartless bastard as far as Gaza and Iran is concerned. And I want to quickly remind him that I have said many times that I do not want to see women and children getting slaughtered. And I've also said time and time again, I would not wish anything bad to happen to those who do not know a battle and would not seek it. And I'm going to nip this shit in the bud right now. The day I wish for innocent women and children, whether it be in the United Kingdom, whether it be in the Middle East, whether it be in South Africa or wherever, I'll say this right now. The day I want to see those types of people get killed is the day I put a revolver in my mouth and blow my head off, because it's not going to fucking happen. And long-term fans should know that if they've watched my channel for long enough. So don't fucking sit here and tell me that I'm a heartless bastard and I don't care for the women and children. The one thing I will say, however, is this. Islam knows how to pull on the heartstrings. That's something else that long-term fans will know I've said. They are a very big fan of psychological warfare. They know full well a lot of people would not want to go and inherently bomb a school or a hospital, because who would want to be seen basically murdering innocent people? Who would want to be seen murdering children, bombing children? I don't think you will find one decent human being that actually wants to see women and children getting bombed. And that is exactly what Islam uses against us. They think, what would harbour a lot of children? What would harbour a lot of wounded? What would harbour a lot of women? Maybe a brothel house in France. Anyway, what would harbour a lot of women? What would harbour a lot of children? That's what you've got to think. And they know this. Why do you think you see a lot of bases that are made in hospitals and schools? It is simply because they know full well we'll hesitate. That gives them the opening they need. And if they do get an opening, they're going to take it, and some poor sod's going to end up dead. Just like that. I also know that Islam does have a tendency to use their children as symbols of fighting the holy jihad, such as those in the Middle East, who effectively love to hold up their children holding up an assault rifle. And some of these children have even used firearms like this. There are even children who have tried to use RPGs. And I'm not talking about the role-playing game kind of RPG. I'm talking about a rocket. And I cannot imagine what the harrowing sight alone of a child holding such a dangerous weapon. And then you see some snipers who have to make the worst decisions of any person in their lives. Put yourself in that position. You see a child down the street aiming at your comrades with a rocket-propelled grenade launcher or an AK-47 or whatever weapons they've managed to get a hold of. And you imagine your people are going to get killed unless you shoot that child. Could you pull the trigger? Of course not. I fucking couldn't. I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't have the guts to pull the trigger on a fucking child. Of course not. We're all human. And it takes I guess, a super kind of human, a super kind of person to actually have to make those stone cold decisions to take the life of a child. And I say super not in the context of they're good people. I'm saying a super kind as in you have to be well above and beyond the, I guess, the normal levels of being able to show sympathy, empathy, or whatever, or having to make those hard decisions. There are some people who have the balls, whether up here or down there, or in my case both, to make the hard decisions. But then there are some decisions that go well above and beyond that shit. And having to take the life of children definitely fits that category. I'm not afraid to admit that I wouldn't have the guts to shoot a child if it threatened my soldiers. My life, maybe. Other people, I probably wouldn't have the guts to do it. But I have waffled on for 6 minutes about that shit. So let's get back to Keir the traitor Starmer. So he ended up threatening, well, I say threatening loosely, because really Keir the traitor Starmer has about as much voice as a voice boxless fucking chihuahua. Like, if he had a voice box, he would still have no bark and no bite, because that is effectively what he is. He is a far left WEF shill. He has no credibility, and he certainly isn't loved by anybody at this point. I mean, as of today, he has prescribed Palestine Action as a terrorist group. Maybe you could argue that is the one good thing that fucker has actually done. But of course, lefties, understandably, are not very happy with the idea that a prescribed terrorist group is being called out as a prescribed terrorist group. Obviously, they don't stand very nicely towards Labour with that. And what I find particularly funny is they then had the audacity to say, we are all Palestine Action. No. No fucking chance, matey. I would sooner blow my brains out than support plasticine. I certainly don't support every Saturday this prescribed terrorist group coming out and disrupting London and disrupting the country, costing the police and the taxpayer millions, if not billions of pounds just to police their protests. I think this shit should have been declared at least a year ago, if not longer. I think Palestine Action should have been described as a terrorist group, or prescribed rather, the moment they were set up, quite frankly, because they are in the same league as Just Stop Oil and Insulate Britain. These people do not support a normal society. They support committing crime, disrupting countries, causing anarchy, and just being, at best, a public nuisance. And as said with Greta Thunberg, at worst, domestic terrorists. The people who go out of their way to support Palestine are also effectively supporting Hamas and Hezbollah. But of course, the mainstream media won't tell you this. Sorry, letting them run it by. Anyway, you know the drill, folks, because say it with me. It doesn't suit the narrative. Like, that's the thing. Palestine likes to think that their cause is just. And as I've said before, I would never advocate for the mass murdering of women and children. I would never support that. And the other thing I will point out on a side note is this person also went out of their way to falsely slander me and imply that they know what side I'd be on, as far as if it was back in those 2 world wars. He said I'd be on Hitler's side. Yeah, how fucking dare he? He wants to associate me with a subhuman like that. Truly fucking disgusting, quite frankly. And I would never want to be that piece of filth. I would never want to be Hitler. I would sooner cut off my own balls than do that. The way I slice it, no, not them, but the way I slice it is anybody that can go out of their way and try to falsely slander other people, basically compare them to the likes of a genocidal maniac, I'm sorry, you've already lost the argument. Now back on to what I was trying to say. The way I look at this prescribed terrorist group is they should be nowhere near the streets of London anymore. At this point, if they ever try to put out any kind of protest like the one they're doing today over in London, the Metropolitan Police should be whipping out the cuffs, strapping them on and locking them up, just like that. But I suspect our two-tier police will be more interested in using the kid gloves approach again, because that's what they've been doing for the last 12 to 18 months. I think I caught one right in the nuts. Oh God, curse this fucking bar, man. God, now I'm going to be a quad testicular person. Anyway, the fact is, these people have no business anymore being on the streets, but our police, it's down to them. Had they got the guts to make the hard decisions? I think I already know the answer to that, to be brutally honest, but I do have to ask the question anyway, because you never know, they may have had a change of heart. The next stop is shut the fuck up. Of course I had to get another bus with tannoy Tina on. Get rid of this shit, we don't need to know where we're going. There's a saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We all know how the police operate though. If this was a far-right group, well, ironically, if it's to do with Islam, it technically is, but the point is, if this was indigenous patriots of the United Kingdom, we all know they'd be pulling riot squads from several different forces throughout the bloody country, ready to come down, battens out, like overexcited fucking gym bunnies, ready to smack us at any chance they can just because we get slightly overexcited. Whereas anybody on the left, or these pro-Plasticine movements, or anything to do with Islam, they're not so eager to attack them. They're not so eager to drive the battens down on them. Only when they actually get attacked by them, and even then they're hesitant, do they actually start doing something. Well, maybe now this will encourage our two-tier police to do their fucking job. But Keir the traitor Starmer has no right to try and tell Trump not to send missiles over to Iran. To be fair, we shouldn't be getting involved in this shit anyway. I mean, that should be common sense, but I understand that Trump is trying to stop an all-out nuclear war here. He is trying to stop Iran from rearing its ugly head, and it is a very fucking ugly head, let me tell you. He has to do what's necessary to protect everyone. Like, that's what happens when you're the most powerful man in the world. Whereas Keir the traitor Starmer is about as powerful as a single shot of malt. No backing, no credibility, no respect, no nothing. Yet Keir the traitor Starmer and his tiny little bollocks think he's going to actually have any say in this matter. Like hell is he. And how dare he try to use the English people as his hostage? He has absolutely no right to do that. This man should be kicked out of office just for this alone. In fact, I could provide a fucking rap sheet on Keir the traitor Starmer that's longer than the whole list of the houses of treachery. I mean Parliament. Or maybe I was right first time. That's the thing with Starmer.
The next stop is...
Shut your mouth. Right, anyway. He's got a list longer than the entire houses of treachery. He's a man with no principles, a man with no honour, a man with no moral compass, and a man who thinks that the best way to serve his people is to destroy them in their entirety. If Keir the traitor Starmer had his way, we would already be living under 1984 rules, under a regime you would almost associate with North or South Korea, China, or Russia. And all this is being done, I suspect, to make it all kick off, to make it all go up, to make anarchy flood the streets. Because that's what will happen if it all kicks off. It will be full-blown anarchy, like nothing this country has ever seen before. It won't just be England versus Islam, it'll be all sorts. Trust me on that. And as I've said before, and I always will say, without fail, I don't want it to go down the anarchistic route. I don't want a violent revolution. I don't want civil war, despite what some of the numpties and the NPCs in the comments decide to say. Because they don't know me. I may have said at one point, maybe the country needs it for all I know, but there's a big difference between thinking it needs something and actually wanting it. And as I've said, I do not want it. I mean, it's bad enough when you have a Prime Minister who's actually thinking of conscripting the far right, this mythical force that seems to be about as visible as the hairs on my head, my forehead that is. But he doesn't want to conscript the Islamic invaders that come to this country. Funny that, isn't it? Charles, if he had any fucking decency, which sadly he doesn't, but if he had any decency, he would prorogue this parliament right now. He would prorogue this parliament, dissolve parliament, and make sure that we got an election and we had a chance to actually vote for people who actually represent us. And I know there are going to be some reformians who are going to... The next stop is my fist in your tannoy system. I know there are going to be reformians that say that, oh, we need to vote Nigel El Faraji in, despite the fact that they've got it clear as crystal in front of them that Nigel El Faraji was not interested in mass deportations, took a fatalistic stance with Islam by saying if we alienate their vote, we will lose. He had a chairman that is from the religion of peace that has libelously slandered Rupert Lowe, and he has gone out of his way to libelously slander Tommy Robinson and Tommy Robinson's supporters as far-right thugs, and saying that Tommy Robinson has a criminal record as long as your arm, and that he has crimes for abuse against women, which, you know, it's dire when his own ex-wife, who wanted nothing to do with his politics, nothing to do with his politics. You know it's bad when she had to come out and make a statement on this matter. I mean, that's pretty damning if you ask me, to have basically Jenna Lennon come out and say he has no crimes, he has no arrests, he has nothing against him for violence against women. I hate this tannoy system. Why the fuck do they put this on every bus now, it seems? I mean, you damn well know you fucked up when you've literally got somebody who literally wants nothing to do with politics speaking out against you, Farage. But smitten kittens like June Slater and other such reformians won't want to tell you that. Just like how they were reluctant to tell us about the slander towards Rupert Lowe. I mean, I had to fight tooth and fucking nail to get a response from June Slater over that shit. So, don't think for 1 second that reform are the right answer for this. If you want a real party, you want a party that has principles, stands by them, doesn't flip-flop at the last minute, slander its voters, and attack its own people, you need UKIP. Thank you. God, even as I'm getting off the bus, the fucking tannoy system's trying to interrupt me. Anyway, the fact is they won't want to tell you about all the shit reform's done. They don't want to tell you about the fact that they slandered its own voters. They falsely labelled Tommy Robinson as a woman beater. They tried to say that Rupert Lowe had dementia, which was completely uncalled for. And then Yusuf, or again, maybe I was right first time, then tried to say that Rupert Lowe made death threats against him, knowing full well that this was completely untrue, and yet they decided to do it anyway. Like, if you don't believe me about the whole Trump thing, well, Starmer calls for calm after blitz on nuke sites. Like, Keir the traitor Starmer needs to fucking butt out. He really does. I mean, he's got about as much... Well, he has about as much relevance as Meghan Markle's first kiss. And I feel bad for Prince Harry for that one. He had no idea what shit he was getting himself into. And yes, I did go into Spa again. I got another couple of packets of these, ready to make another tiffin. Magic stars. Gotta love them. Who said man's his own solar system? Shut up, you. Fucking hell, I'm not that big. Look, I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not sitting here claiming I have all the answers. I'm not sitting here claiming to be king shit at Turd Mountain. Nor would I want that brown crown over my fucking head. I've already got brown enough hair as it is. But I digress. They will keep trying to tell you that reform is our only hope. They'll keep telling you that if we vote for anyone else, it'll be a vote for Labour. But as I said, it is this fatalistic thinking. Oh God, I'm dying. I shouldn't have said that. Fuck me. Anyway, it's this fatalistic thinking that Reformians have. They can't see beyond their own little bubble. That's the problem with them. If they actually realised that Nigel al-Faraji is not the Messiah and is not the great hero they're expecting, they would leave him in an instant. Guarantee that. The thing is, UKIP have dedicated themselves to Christian infrastructure, to wanting to deal with Islamic extremism, wanting to curtail this two-tier justice system and want to give more robust sentencing for those harsher crimes. They want to ensure that this mass immigration is put to a stop, and they're engaging in a remigration policy, which is something Nigel al-Faraji will never commit to. And effectively, he has a whole load of people behind him who understand exactly what he wants and how he's going to do it. All he needs is the MPs. He needs the people in seats, the people in constituents, able to stand up to the seemingly titanic Reform Party. It may seem like an impossible task, but you'll be amazed at what you can do across 4 years. I mean, if you take a look at what happened in 2012 when Nigel el-Faraji finally forced David the con man Cameron to give us an EU referendum. And what did he do? He achieved the impossible. He managed to get us a Brexit, even if it is at the moment in name only. He did that. And if someone like Nigel can do it, I don't see any reason why someone like Nick Tenconi can't. Am I missing something? Is there something that I should be aware of Nick Tenconi that prevents him from achieving the impossible? Honestly, if there is, please let me know. But I'll say this much. Nigel is not the answer. That is the cold, bitter truth. You might think that Nigel's the answer to our problems, but I guarantee you, when he becomes Prime Minister, if he becomes Prime Minister, he will stab you all in the back. He will completely ditch his promises, just like that. And then you will wish you'd listened, rather than have it go in one ear and out the other. But as far as Starmer's concerned, please, Trump, please forgive our Prime Minister. I almost want to say he's got dementia, but I can't tell you that in good faith, because I don't know. But he certainly acts like it, that's for sure. He doesn't make rational decisions. He makes decisions that are good for him and fuck everyone else. His word is about as much gospel as Satan's handbook. He is a man who would rather kill his own people than actually protect them. So please do not take the ravings of a lunatic like Keir the traitor Starmer to heart, because he does not represent the English people. He does not represent the people who fought in 2 world wars and died for this country. If they realised what we were about to become, I'm pretty sure they would have just let the Nazis have the United Kingdom, quite frankly. And speaking of that, during my last swimming session, I know it's not going to seem relevant, but please hear me out. My friend Mike mentioned that if Russia was to step onto our doorstep, interestingly enough, and this is an interesting take for me, he said he wouldn't fight because there's nothing left of the United Kingdom. I mean, I can understand where he's coming from. I can 100% understand. I mean, what have we got? We've got loads of thoroughbred English blood people. But other than that, what have we got? We don't have tight-knit communities anymore. We don't have freedom of speech. We don't have the ability to fly our own flag without our two-tier policing society deciding to tell us, you need to take that down, young man or woman, or we will arrest you for disrupting the peace because you're going to offend old Mohammed over there. Like, that's the truth. I can understand why he says that shit. Even if I still would want to fight for my country, I can completely understand it from his fucking point. I mean, I think most people, if they saw what was going on, they probably would just say, fuck it, the country's lost. Maybe I'm mad. Maybe I'm insane. Maybe we've got Keir the traitor Starmer to blame. But one thing's for sure, one thing's for certain. I will fight this war before the final curtain.